Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of 8 Dead Giants After Dark. And you could take that as sexy, but you can also take that, well, you probably won't take it as sexy, let's be real. You could also take it as scary, because we are still in scary season. It's Halloween time of year, which I've actually got increasingly into over the years. I love it as an excuse to watch weird, obscure horror movies, some of which we're going to be talking about shortly. But first, I must introduce the fabulous giant that is joining us today. You could call him a Renaissance man. You could call him... Yeah, well, he's pulling a face at that. It's a compliment. He's a 21st century guy, and he's bringing us coverage of games and movies and TV today, and it's going to be exciting and it's going to be awesome. I've got Rob with me. Of course I do. He's not the most regular joint person for the After Dark episode, so it's always special to get Rob for an After Dark.
It's always nice to be nocturnal for a change and join in. Yeah.
The less PG version of 8 Dead Giants. That's what I like to think of. It's PG-13. I don't think we're R-rated. I don't think we go that far, but I've
I've listened to some of the past episodes. I think R-rated is very much where you sit. I think the PG-13U is a rarity, in all honesty.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I can see where you might be coming from there. I'm relaxing a bit more. I'm sort of like leaning back in my chair. I've got my whiskey going, and I'm looking forward to getting into this. We're gonna go for a off the cuff, however long this runs, chat. No cuts, no music breaks, no advert breaks, just unadulterated ramble, as only you can get on a pretty late night Friday. We're kicking off here at 8:30. God. And as you get older, that gets later. That's how that works. And
feels like 10:30.
Yeah, basically. I'm like, why am I not in bed yet? Curled up with a book. So here we are instead. We're gonna chat about some games. We're gonna chat about some movies, and we're gonna chat about TV and anything else that might come to mind as well. I think as we go through. So it's kind of like,
are you suggesting we might get stuck on tangents and go on side quests of conversation? No,
I love that
Surely
conversation
not.
we had. That last one we had 2 weeks ago. That was a great conversation that we had about criticism and where it's valid and all of that sort of stuff. That was a really good conversation. So I'm looking forward to getting into this. So do you want to start anywhere in particular?
Why don't you tell me about Battlefield 6? Let's get that one done.
Well, look, Rob, I think you've mentioned this on a previous podcast when we talked about it coming up and trailers and things like that. You are not into like online multiplayer military shooters, really, are you? That's not your bag.
Modern military shooters are not my bag, which extends to 2 of the 3 modes of Call of Duties, and when they're being normal and not sci-fi, and Battlefield as a franchise. Space shooters, sign me the fuck up, but for modern military, I'll pass. Sell Battlefield to me. Sell it.
It's I feel like there's going to be a struggle for me here, but it is a very good one of those. It's nice because it's a return to form. Battlefield 2042, which obviously what took that leap into some science fiction territory, which was their last big release, was very disappointing. They kind of moved too far away from the core of what makes the franchise enjoyable, which is this kind of big but not like so big you lose track of what's going on, warfare, huge amounts of destructibility, which they've really been able to bring back with this one. Now, what the developers have talked about is that because they've ditched the previous hardware, they're really able to step that destructibility up, which makes the battlefields that you're in quite, open and exciting for emergent gameplay experiences, which is where I've always said Battlefield's multiplayer really shines, right? Because it does have those tight, 8v8 modes that are Call of Duty reminiscent. But if you're going to Battlefield for that, just like, what are you doing? Play Call of Duty. Those are the guys that do that the best. But with Battlefield, you want that 32 player versus 32 player large scale warfare on these big maps that feel epic and that they change as you're going through them, and you feel they're dynamic and they kind of resist some of the more egregious, boring kind of strategies that you'll find in multiplayer shooters. You know what I mean by that. Camping, really predictable flows around a map. But because these are moving and the checkpoints sort of move through the map, they force you to reposition. They force you to think about approaching them in different ways, and then obviously you lean the class system into that so that people are again encouraged to play within the kind of pros and cons of a certain class to support the wider war effort. You have a real kind of exciting fun dynamic. You feel like even if you're not a frontline trooper in this, maybe you're playing an engineer and you're just sort of riding shotgun in one of the vehicles, you feel really integral because you're there to repair that vehicle so that it lasts longer in combat, so that you can help your team get the ultimate victory. And while that might seem weird because, you might be in a squad of up to 4 players and you're playing in a team of up to 32 and you don't know who all those people are. Obviously, they're randoms off the internet and across multiple platforms now that they've got that enabled so you can play with PC and other console players. Cool. It's really cool. With that as well, you still feel connected to each other and you still feel like, you want to support each other. There'll always be those lone wolves. There'll always be the ones that just want to get the kills. Maybe they're just leveling up weapons or something like that. But for the most part, in my experience, I played quite a lot of this over the last week or two, people play the objectives, people play to support the team and to play to win as that larger group. So it's actually, I think, one of the more kind of pleasant kind of community-driven shooters. Call of Duty has a lot of sweaty, hyper-competitive, obnoxious players, even if you're not talking to them, right? They kind of come across that way in how they interact with the game. However, Battlefield feels much more like a big playground that you're all going to have a great time in, win or lose. And that's, and I've won as many matches as I've lost, and it's been a real give and take. And sometimes, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to prop up a team of players that maybe aren't as experienced as the other team. But you get those kind of individual wins as you're playing. You've captured a lot of the conquest points, or you've got a lot of kills, or you've leveled up your weapon. So I think they've done a really good job of sort of incentivizing multiple ways of play, multiple avenues of enjoyment. And it's a really well-rounded experience. It's even got a single-player mode, which 2042 didn't even have at all. So this has actually got a story, a campaign where you get to be Spec Ops Hero of the Day and save the universe with your amazing daring do. It's pretty, cut and dry, pretty obvious, pretty on the nose. But it from what I played of that, I played about 2 or 3 missions. I'm really not that bothered. I'd much rather play the multiplayer. But in the single player terms, it's competent. It's fine. It's not going to do anything new or set the world alight, but it's fine. But yeah, any questions about Battlefield, Rob?
Not questions, but more sentiment. From the outside looking in, I've always watched Call of Duty and Battlefield sort of vie to be that military shooter. You have some exceptions to the rule, like Spec Ops The Line, for example, and those sorts of things which come in and be their own sensations for various reasons. But the modern day shooter has always been COD or Battlefield. Those have been the 2 names that get tossed around. So I've always viewed Call of Duty as more of the group play, arcadey type, like you say, the 8v8 sweaty matches, where it's just PvP. The only thing you care about is killing other people. Oh, look, it's domination, whatever, we don't care. Kill other people, kill, right? And then Battlefield, I had always viewed as that larger team spectacle type mission set, where, like you say, you're advancing up the battlefield as you go. You've got more vehicles to play with and stuff like that. So it's good that they're doing what they do best and more of it. So that's encouraging to hear. I'm very much looking forward to seeing TikToks and YouTube Shorts and Reels and whatever of one particular content creator who always plays Battlefield games. He is a retired vet from America. He is a granddad he's like 80 years old, and he plays a sniper. And because he was a counter sniper, he counter snipes everyone. He punishes people for camping. He gets headshots from half a map away because he's using real world experience to like aim, in the other corner of the screen, and bullet drop and wind makes it hit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing in Battlefield 6.
Yeah, so, I've had
interesting
some
journey to follow.
I've only played maybe a week or two. I'm guessing about, I don't know, like 20, 30 big matches, that sort of thing, you know. But a match goes on for 30, 40 minutes sometimes. One match can take quite a while because they're these kind of tugs of war that go across multiple sectors of these ginormous maps. And I've had such a varied experience. A couple that come to mind. I played as a sniper in one particular map that I thought lent itself to that concept because I was familiar enough with some of the high points and the vantage points. So I was like, okay, let's see what I can do as a sniper here, as a recon. And I had a great fun, like what you were talking about. Other snipers were trying to snipe me. I was trying to snipe them first. I was anticipating where in the map, in the sight lines they were going to show up, because I was familiar enough, so I was prepared for where they would appear, and before they even get a shot off or look down their scope, headshot, they're dead, right? And I've taken them out. But then they learn where I am, and they start doing that to me in return, right? So I have to reposition. So there's kind of this whole fun give and take element there. And then I spent another experience. I was almost entirely for this match, the gunner on a Bradley. So I wasn't the driver of the Bradley with the main gun. I was the support gunner. And I was just helping the driver who was playing the Bradley really well, really tactically, really thinking about where he was driving to. He's supporting our advance. And then I was supporting him in that. And I got loads of kills and he got loads of kills. And we ended up surviving for like the majority of that match because it just worked really well. And this was a complete random. He wasn't in my squad. He wasn't someone I was talking to over comms. We just worked really well together and had this really quite tight experience, which was really enjoyable. And I ended up leveling up my Bradley skill. I think you like level up every weapon and every vehicle based on how well you do. And I think I went from 1 or 2 to 11 or 12 in the space of one match because we were so dominant in that one vehicle, you know. And it would come out of combat, and then there was a guy who was a passenger in it who was an engineer, and he was jumping out and he was using his blowtorch to fix the vehicle and then jumping back in, and we were driving around one control point, another control point, another 10 kills over here, another 2 kills over there, you know, just absolutely being a menace. And it felt like this is how the game has been designed to work, and it was really quite cool to see it like sing as well as it did. It
strikes me as it makes its own story moments. It doesn't need a sophisticated campaign, because you're not going to remember what random Marine Tom Jerry the 17th decides to pick a fight with a PMC for. You're going to remember that moment in the Bradley. That match is going to stick with you as a game experience and go, yeah, that was the Bradley match. That was great fun. You know, that's what you're going to take away from that game. And I think that's where Battlefield just beats Call of Duty for a fair portion of the time.
I've really enjoyed, I think the last Call of Duty I really liked was the new version of Modern Warfare 2 that they put out, Infinity Ward. But even that's now a few years old. That's a good little while back. But once they rebooted that and they've come back to it, Call of Duty has gotten really good again up to that point. And I think then you like the zombie stuff. I hate the zombie stuff.
Love it.
So it's the one mode I never, ever, ever engage with in Call of Duty, because I just find that wave-based stuff has been done so much better in other games like ODST or Gears of War, that I'm like, Call of Duty's version doesn't do much for me. But all I'll say is that I was there at the beginning, the original Horde mode, which was Gears of War. They're the guys that coined the term Horde mode. And then obviously at the similar time, ODST's Firefight was a huge gameplay mode, which was just fantastic.
I remember that.
And I just feel like it's never been better. Like, it's never actually been better than that. But that's just me. But I do enjoy the Call of Duty stuff. So the Battlefield's not perfect. It does have one big issue that I gripe about with this, which is how it sort of surfaces your unlocks. So if you have a good match, you could level up several weapons. You could level up your core sort of soldier level as well, which unlocks, attachments for guns and camos and new weapons and all kinds of cool stuff. But then when you go to the menu and actually try and dig through this quite impenetrable UI, it doesn't sort of highlight anything you've unlocked. So it's just like you have to periodically dig into your class, dig into your guns, and just kind of look through everything you've got, because you don't know what's new, because it doesn't like put a little icon next to it or put them in a category, new unlocks or something like that you haven't looked at. It doesn't do any of that. So you might have unlocked a really great new scope or a fantastic silencer for a weapon, but unless you're paying really a lot of attention to that after match report, you have no idea. And sometimes you're matching into the next match so quickly, that the aftermatch report of the unlocks, which is the last page of that report, you get maybe a second or two to look at it if you don't jump to it like beforehand, and you're in another match, and it's like 30 to 45 seconds between matches, and you have to try and digest all of that. That is not great. I think the UI for getting between the modes and looking at the unlocks is poor, but it's a small gripe when the core game is so much fun and so well crafted, and the netcode's really good. I've not felt, they're being really aggressive on going after cheaters. They're being really aggressive at taking those people down and banning them and basically preventing them from spoiling the fun. If you don't want to play with PC gamers, because you could definitely argue, for example, that PC gamers will have an advantage due to KB and M controls over controller, controls, you can disable that so you don't match with them, so you only play with console players. So I think they've really thought about the experience at the core of this game a lot, and that's what's sort of singing with this. And I have such a middle-aged man hard-on for modern warfare tech and gear and guns and like the look of soldiers. If I could get away with wearing tactical outfits every day, in camo and combat gloves, I probably would be that sweaty guy that did that. But I also know I'd be ostracized by just about everybody I walked into, right? Because I'm not a vet. However much respect I might have for the armed forces and stuff, I'm not that guy. So yeah, I just think it's a very cool setting. I think the guns, the way they feel, the way they look, the design of everything, the quality of the dice engine, it's really the best it's been. We compare that to Unreal 5 in a game we're going to talk about in a minute with its pop-in and its slow texture loads, and all of that jazz. And it's like, man, this game just runs. It just goes. You go into a game, I've had like no crashes. I've had no performance issues. It just plays great. The frame rate's great. It feels responsive. It looks fantastic. And then, of course, that destructibility. Another emergent moment that I had, I'm sniping on the top of like a 5 or 6 story building. I'm in the corner of the building. I'm looking down the street. This bloody massive main battle tank rolls slowly around the corner, gets an idea of where I am, but it doesn't shoot at me. It shoots at the building, takes out the foundation of the building. The building collapses and I'm killed by the collapsing building. I mean, that is so cool, right? That is so cool. That is something that can be done in a game, and it's not just a wall here or a wall there, a cosmetic. It's that when the destruction happens, it really changes the kind of complexion of a game. When I did this in reverse, for example, there was another map I was playing on, and there was a guy posted up behind a wall. It was a really kind of effective sniper position, mostly in cover. He's shooting down at me. I get killed. I spawn back in. I'm in the Bradley that I've clearly grown to love. I roll around in the Bradley. He takes one look at me. He's like, oh shit. He pegs it off the wall as quick as he can. But I'm already unloading that main cannon into the wall. Destroy the wall. Destroy all of his cover. Roll in. I run him over, Rob. I ran him over. I chased him down and I ran him over. And it felt good. Like, that's so much fun. Shit like that is so much fun. And I think if you got Battlefield 6, I know you probably won't, but we would squad up and we could just, it's a really great multiplayer experience. It's so much fun. I haven't actually played with anybody yet. I know we've got another giant, Matt, who's on the show quite often, has bought it, and we are intending to play some multiplayer at some point. And he's got it on Xbox as well, like me. And, it's going to be a good time. It's guaranteed to be a good time. It's just, that's what that game does. It's a great hangout game. So much fun.
So, on a slight tangent but related, when we were talking about horde modes and zombies mode and so on, it made me curious which came first, the concept of the chicken or the egg, right?
Mm-hmm.
So horde mode came first. Do you know, without Googling, how much it came first, or when the second iteration, i.e. zombies or ODST's firefight mode, came out?
I'm pretty sure Firefight was the same year, I want to say.
Interesting. You are wrong.
What was it?
On November the 7th, 2008, Gears of War 2 Horde mode came out. November the 11th, 2008, 4 days later, zombies arrived.
Well, they clearly ripped off Gears of War, Rob.
It actually took until the following September in 2009 for ODST to come out.
Okay. Okay.
So Firefight ripped off Horde mode by a long way, but Zombies was a different thing. It's turned into an entirely different concept now. But
I don't know what you
there's
mean.
no way.
Everybody knows how game development works. They just went Control C and Control
Control
V,
V.
and then print game, and they had the new mode. That's how that works, is it not? That's game development.
No.
No,
you
so
know that
that's interesting.
Nazi Zombies
That's
was actually not part of the original lineup of World of War. It was done as a background fun dev task by a couple of the devs who just played around with it and had a good idea. One of the upper management got a sniff of it and went, show. And they did and loved it, so it was put in the game. But that was never part of the original scope of World at War.
So it basically is the mod that it looks like and plays like. Yeah, not a proper game. No, fair play. Yeah, no, that makes sense. The mode isn't a real mode. It was a dev piss around mode. Yeah, that does explain a lot.
In World at War, it was a dev piss around mode, but now it's...
I'm only messing. I'm only messing. I mean, I'm pretty sure mods and things of that nature to do modes like that probably go back way before actual Horde mode. And I just think Horde mode was able, in Gears of War, because of the popularity of that franchise, was able to really get that foot in the door. And of course, like you just said, Call of Duty hit just as quickly, just as soon. But yeah, obviously, like you said, it's changed a lot. But that's kind of where it lost me. It's all that mid sort of match power ups and like mini games within mini games and all the purchase mechanics, and it just like, God, I look at it and I go, bloody hell, like, what the hell, man? Like, there's too much here.
There was something pure about ODST and Firefight, which was just, there's 50 waves, good luck.
Yeah,
you know,
you're kind of shit. You're just a dude in a suit.
I know,
like, not even a good
suit.
suit.
You're more powerful than a fucking Spartan. Like, you could melee hit two things. Melee two-hit stuff to death, which you shouldn't be able to do as a normal human.
But you got killed a lot easier as an ODST. Like you didn't have the kind of the shield or anything that the chief had, and you didn't have all of his crazy power ups, and
you had the SMG, which was bananas.
Oh my god, that gun was so good. Oh man, that gun was so good.
ODST was one of the first Halo games I ever did on Legendary because it was that easy.
Oh, back then I was legendarying all of them. I'd done all of them at that point. Yeah, I mean that franchise. It's sad what's happened to Halo, isn't it?
Oh,
it is so tragic.
Started.
It's so tragic what's happened.
It's
to
not Halo
franchise.
anymore. It's not Halo anymore.
It's sad. Let's do that then, as that's kind of a pivot point before we talk about the other big game. Let's pivot into ROG Ally X, because obviously that's Microsoft. It's just come out. I mean, if you'd spoken to me 3-4 months ago, I was dead set on buying this. I was going to pre-order it. I was excited about it. And then they took forever to get the pre-orders sorted out. And then they only kind of landed just before the entire fuck up around Game Pass happened. And I'm quite glad they seemed to sell out as quickly as they did. And I wasn't able to grab one, because off the back of the Game Pass stuff, I'm like super questioning if I'm ever going to buy that thing. And then obviously it was originally talked about as an Xbox handheld, and it's actually kind of not. It's kind of this, only a very small subset of Xbox games that I play anywhere is actually playable on this basically PC handheld, basically an Asus ROG Ally 2, right? It's not really anything Xbox, it's just co-branding. In the same way, do you remember I don't know if you ever saw this, did you see that they did a Oculus Rift Xbox version, which was just an Oculus Rift painted black? And it's like, and they put the Xbox branding.
I thought you were going to say green for a minute.
Well, I think it's got green highlights on it as well. And it's like, and this is an Xbox. It's like, no, it's fucking not. But they've just done the same thing with this. The reviews of it as a piece of hardware are very good. But if you wanted that portable Xbox experience, I don't think it's what it is.
No.
So I'm kind of gutted about everything where Xbox is right now. I don't have a portable gaming device right now, and I do want a portable gaming device, but I actually might go for a Steam Deck OLED instead. So I don't know.
I think you would enjoy Steam Deck OLED more than you would enjoy the ROG Ally X. I was in a very similar. Yeah, I was in a very similar position to you. I was dead set on buying it. Dead set I was going to get it. It was going to be solve so many, I'm going to use quotation, quote unquote, problems with balancing where you are in a house and gaming and not, and all that sort of stuff. It would resolve loads of stuff for that, but it just never got me enough to actually lay down the pre-order. The day I looked at the pre-orders, all of the LAX ones were gone, and that prompted a different set of conversations. And instead, it's turned into a his and hers gaming setup in the living room with my Series X on one side, a Series S on the other, and two Switch 2s in the middle. It's turned into a much more cooperative gaming experience for me and the missus, which is so superior. I would have that any day over the handheld.
So you did get one, you got two Switch 2s.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have absolutely no recollection of saying that phrase at all.
Wow.
One was directly for the missus. So we could play Pokemon together, and we could play other games together, and then we realised quite how much better the Switch 2 is than the Switch OLED in performance. And it was, wow, the change was stark. So we decided to make a slightly silly financial decision and go and get a second one.
Well, they're quite available, aren't they? That's
They
the big
are.
difference. You can get a Switch 2, right? Well, you couldn't get a Switch for forever, it seemed, at one point. So that's great that they're available. The problem for me is I love the Switch 2, but there's one big thing holding me back. Do you know what that is?
Go on.
I don't give a shit about any Nintendo games. Like, almost none of them interest me.
Yeah.
Like, don't care about Zelda, don't care about Mario, don't care about Metroid, don't care about Pokemon. I'm like, they're just franchises that when they were hitting and they were big, I was playing on PC as a kid. And I just wasn't... I wasn't playing on SNES. I didn't have an N64 until loads later, and then I barely fucking played on it. I think I just got one really cheap at one point. And like, I got rid of my Switch a while back. My missus has a Switch Lite, one of those the non Joy-Con removable versions of it.
Yeah.
I had my moment on Animal Crossing. I liked things like, I like the indie games. I actually like the non-Nintendo games that are available on the Switch. Mr. Shifty, I played a load of. That was a great little indie game. Really, really good fun. Like Hotline Miami, but like with superpowers, which was an awesome game. Obviously Animal Crossing, which is obviously a Nintendo game. Hades was great on the Switch. But, and that's something that appeals to me. The idea of Hades 2 on a Switch 2 would be really fucking awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Waiting for November.
But why don't I just get a Steam Deck, OLED, and play it on that, which might be the best thing I could do. And I've also got, like, how many Steam games? Like 600, 700 Steam games? Like, I don't even know how many at this point. So
I'm vastly entrenched in the Pokemon franchise. I predominantly stick with Nintendo consoles because of Pokemon. They have their hooks in me, and the hooks can never be taken out. So for me, that's why I stay with Nintendo. I don't give a shit about Zelda. I'd rather shit in my hands than clap and than play Zelda. I've tried Breath of the Wild. I didn't enjoy it. I don't get on with it. So I will never buy the game. I know it's renowned as being incredible. Good for it. But Pokemon's my jam. I like the party games of Mario. Like Mario Kart. We've been playing Mario Kart World. Me and the missus, and we've been having a great time with it. We do 1 cup, maybe 2 cups in an evening, and generally swear at each other and hate each other for throwing random bananas at each other. It's great.
Is that 2 Robs, 1 cup?
No, it's not. Definitely not.
You mentioned shitting in your hands and clapping. That's what made me think of that. You did that, Rob. You did that. I'm sorry. It's your fault.
Hey, but you've tarnished the internet with the phrase 2 Robs, 1 cup now, so that's you. I can't wait for our friends to listen to this and go, what the actual are you talking about? But yeah,
hold on, do you think our friends wouldn't get that? Because I guarantee they fucking would.
Oh, they
just
get
to be
that.
clear,
It's just
they
how in the fuck did we get to this point more than anything? But yeah, like, it's a great console. The games are great. It's really nice. The whole upgrade patch being purchasable and that sort of thing is a little bit dodge. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'll just play my Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. They're all back compat. So what's the point in paying for patches that you don't care about?
Do you remember when Xbox wasn't awful and predatory, and how they basically said every every time we did an X or S patch for one of the games you owned on the previous Xbox generation, you were going to get it for free. Hey, do you remember the good old days where they were desperate for people to come and join their ecosystem? And now they just want everybody to fucking leave? It's like those were some really good decisions, and backwards compatibility program and all that great stuff.
I miss the back compat program.
Oh my god, there was I just can't believe that they've stuck to this price increase. 2 weeks later, because we spoke 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, they're gonna all get back. I'm like, I'm so wrong.
No,
I'm so wrong. I was maybe just wishful thinking. They've just basically gone on like it never happened, and it's just like, right, you guys going to accept that now? Here's next month's worth of Game Pass titles. They're not that great, so there's not even like here's a massive title to make up for it. And it's sort of like, oh, cool, all right, cool, okay. Back to Switch though. I don't know what would get me to buy one. Unfortunately, I have nothing personal against those Nintendo franchises I mentioned. I just don't have that nostalgic connection. I could definitely look at a Breath of the Wild, and I can look at the Mario and go, that's a very good one of those. I can see that critically and appreciate the craft and the design and all that good stuff. But I just can't get excited about it. I just can't. It just doesn't get me hyped.
So you're the me for Nintendo, like I am for Battlefield 6.
Yeah, I think so.
Respect the fact that they're good ones of those. Good job. Thumbs up, gold star. Get on with it.
Except a whole platform, not just one franchise. Unfortunately, a whole platform of games. I don't know. Nintendo. There is a sort of slightly strange arrogance about them as well that puts me off. That they're quite aggressive and so dominant in what they have and so controlling of it that puts me off a little bit. But I mean, let's be real. Sony aren't any better. Microsoft now aren't any better. They're all kind of dicks in their own way. So I can't let that really put me off. But yeah.
I like Nintendo because they do something different. Sony and Microsoft are always fighting to be the home console kings. They're always trying to be at the top and play essentially the same games but be better than the other. Nintendo decided, we're going to go off in a random as fuck direction and figure it out from there. Whilst Xbox and Sony were going with like the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, let's have multimedia centers in your consoles and apps and download things. Nintendo were going, let's make the Wii. Like they did something different. Movement and activity has always been part of their games. They're much more into the social concept of gaming rather than Microsoft and Sony. Sony have specialized in single player at this point.
I just want to counter your comment about social aspect of gaming. What you mean by that is the in-person aspect of gaming,
yes.
Because this is the platform. This is the kind of the studio. That solution to multiplayer gaming online and comms was, well, you got a mobile phone, use that, and it was like they've only with the Switch 2 integrated voice comms into their hardware in this newest generation. It was literally up to the Switch. Use an app on your mobile. Because we can't be bothered to do that. Sorry.
And I mean, in fairness, the last time I played co-op with someone, our friend Milena, I played using Discord and not Xbox. So, I'm not using the core app. Is it any different to going, you've got phones, right?
Yeah, but the clever thing there is that Xbox integrated Discord into their platform.
All right, fair point.
Right? Which is actually pretty smart. Well, they've gone, all right, Discord is how people like to interact. Like, let's just bring it in. And that was actually I think the Discord integration on Xbox is actually surprisingly good. Like, it works really well.
I expected it to be a lot shitter than it is.
Yeah, it just works, doesn't it? It just works. Yeah. It's just quite remarkable. But I think it's on PlayStation as well now, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think they've got it too. But yeah, no. Are you expecting that to ever get that on a Switch? No.
No,
Nope.
but I
Nope.
wouldn't expect it on a Switch. The next console on a Switch I'm fully expecting to be augmented reality headset that you put on and wave your arms around, or something completely separate and different to the home console experience.
What was that cardboard thing they had on the Switch where it was
like Labo.
Labo?
Which was
what the
just
fuck is that?
fucking awful.
What the fuck is Labo?
But
Oh
it was
my
also
God.
the most Nintendo thing I could possibly imagine. It's interactive, it's movement based, it's something different that isn't just holding the same controller in your hand for 8 hours. You know, they think outside the box and they do something different. That's what I like about Nintendo.
I think to me it's like Nintendo has always stayed in touch with its roots, which is it's not a video game console manufacturer, it's a toy company. So it's always understood that fun isn't, like you just said, necessarily always just holding a controller and staring at a screen. Fun is movement. Fun is arts and crafts, right? Fun is social. Fun is being in a room together and interacting. The problem for me is I'm an antisocial, middle-aged white guy prick. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to blow fucking heads off like a sweaty prick. So that's kind of like why it probably doesn't resonate with me, because I'm myopic and miserable. So it's kind of like, I get it though. I do see that and go, that's actually really cool. And I think, what the smartest thing ever, like you mentioned earlier, they got out of the arms race. They got out of that competitive space and just went, you know what, you guys can fuck off in the corner and do your thing. We're going to go over here and take 3/4 of the market share and be able to sell our consoles at a profit, because people will pay for them for a lot longer, many years before Microsoft and Sony tried to do the same, right? Because they knew they dominated. They're so far ahead. Microsoft and Sony have just stopped competing with them. Like, they've basically gone, we're not even in the same space as them. They are the champions. They won.
I think Steam, Asus, Xbox, and PlayStation are now trying to catch up with the concept of a Switch. With all their handheld rush, where do you think that inspiration has come from? Because they all look like fucking Switches to me. They're all just Switches with different layouts and different button configs. But, they've all looked at Nintendo, who have taken, like you say, 70%, 80% of the market share and gone, fuck, we should have done that. Shit, quick, people, do it.
People want to be able to play games. But, I mean, they're so stupid, aren't they? Because Nintendo must have looked at mobiles and gone, people want to be able to game wherever they go. They don't want to just be able to game at home. They want to game on the go. They want to be able to game at, on the way to the office. They want to be able to game on holiday. Let's do that. Like, how did it, like, you look back in hindsight and you're like, how did these other guys not sort of spot that? They were all too busy trying to get their games, like, onto mobile, and, like, actually we're just going to do shitty ports and a poorer experience on a mobile device, on a smaller screen, when Nintendo just went, no, we're just going to give them the whole thing. It's like, of course that dominated. Of course.
Yeah, and they've been doing that since the fucking Game Boy, for God's sake.
I don't even like Nintendo, and I've owned 2 fucking Nintendo Switches. Like, so it's exactly. Like, I mean, I don't even like them, and I owned a Switch, and I have a Switch Lite in the house. Like, so that tells you everything, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, it became ubiquitous, right? It became all present, especially over lockdown. Like, it was this huge thing that just dominated everyone, and everybody wanted a Switch, and everybody wanted to play Animal Crossing, and Nintendo just, like, quietly are geniuses of marketing and product design. However much I might not like them, man, do I have a lot of respect for that in terms of business sense.
So in other words, are we going to say that Nintendo has really won the console war?
They won it. Like with the Wii. They won it with the Wii. I mean, when you're going back, what, three generations now? I think that's 3, isn't it? Like, so they won back then. And at that point, that's when Microsoft and Sony were just like, we're not even playing there anymore. So, and you could watch them follow, right? You had iToy with PlayStation, you had Kinect with, with that, and you had all that crap, and they were both inferior. They were both kind of, I'll give the Kinect props because it was so ambitious, like to try and do this stereoscopic camera device. It was absolutely crazy on the 360 anyway. But then obviously bundling with the One was a huge mistake, and obviously put the price of the console up massively, and all of that was really a poor move. But it didn't really work. It very rarely performed as it should. it was this fucking expensive doodad. Whereas the Wii's like silly nunchuck controllers and all that bullshit and their wands, while ridiculous, worked for the most part. And because their games were smart enough and limited enough in their scope that they could utilize that device in a way that was fun and, of course, appealed to gamers and whole generations of people that had basically given up on or never interacted with gaming. So it was kind of like, wow, fucking... And then, of course, the Switch was followed up after the Wii U, which we don't really talk about. And it just, like, did it again. They beat everyone else to the punch. And it's like, props to them. And they seem to have this pattern, don't they? The Wii U, Switch 2, next generation of whatever it is from Nintendo will be another step, I would hope, into something we have yet to think of. And will surprise and delight, people. And I think the likelihood is Nintendo will do that. Microsoft and Sony are going to get closer and closer and closer together until I think inevitably one gets out of the console market entirely and becomes just a publisher that's heavily supporting the other in a big kind of deal. I do think that's Microsoft. I think it's quite likely Microsoft gets out and actually just supports Sony's PlayStation. And they hope through that consolidation, which is the big thing in tech nowadays, that they'll have a chance to stand up to whatever comes next from Switch. But I think and
then they will fail.
They will fail. And the PC place right now, I think, is becoming more and more dominant in that market, which is, like you mentioned earlier, is like with Asus, they're competing, and the Steam Deck, they're competing with Microsoft and Sony. That's where that fight is. And that's what will dominate, which will be the conventional gaming versus non-conventional gaming. And they'll have their own niches, and they won't really be competing. It's not the same market. Because I'll have a PC and I'll have those games, but then I'll also probably have, who am I kidding? At some point I'm going to get a Switch 2. It'll happen. Probably after if they do drop a price, if we ever get back to sensible console pricing, and then I'll pick it up. How much is a Switch 2 nowadays in the UK?
$430 if it includes Mario Kart from Curry's.
That's an interesting.
400.
I think that's close enough in terms of hardware to be an almost impulse buy. You can. I know it's still a lot of money, but I think when you talk about what a new Xbox will be priced at, which you look at the current prices, you can kind of guess if there is a new Xbox hardware, it's going to be £600-700.
Yeah.
So I think. And then you look at the PS Pro's pricing, PlayStation 5 Pro's pricing, I should say, and how much that is. I think that's £200 to £300 more than where that Switch is at, which feels a lot more like palatable. But then again, the hardware in the Switch 2 is a generation behind the hardware in the X, for example.
True, but a lot of the games on the Switch and the Switch 2 aren't as aren't as graphically advanced as the games that we have on Xbox and PlayStation. Xbox and PlayStation are too busy worrying about the Call of Duties and the Battlefields being, 74 teraflops or whatever the graphical measure benchmark is, and trying to make it as pretty and realistic, whereas Switch is going, no, this is the style. It's Mario driving a car, don't get too excited. They're not trying to compete on that level. They're putting the graphical benchmark that's needed, not that is pushed for, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does. And I think, and that's the thing, because you're dealing with a handheld screen. Yeah, that's your primary method of interaction. Though I believe docked, it does boost its abilities somewhat. Yeah. So I think that's really clever how they've kind of navigated those two ways of its interaction are going to happen with the device. Do you play with the nunchucks, or do you have a Pro controllers, or? We don't have Pro controllers. We have the controller handheld grip that comes with the Switch 2, which we've been using for Mario Kart. I'm quite comfortable using the Joy-Cons on their own. My partner prefers using them in the controller cradle. That's how she prefers using those. But I've been using Joy-Cons for years myself, so I'm much more comfortable with those. The mechanism to detach them is much nicer on the Switch 2. It's so much better, because I don't know how much you've seen, but they slot in rather than having to slide on and off.
They use
Like,
these cool. It's magnet technology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like advanced magnet technology, which is pretty cool.
So much better.
Yeah, I remember when they were talking about it around the leaks and stuff for the hardware specs, and I think that's very cool. I mean, it is a nicely designed piece of hardware. I think I'd say in terms of its form factor, I look at that. I look at the Asus. I look at the Steam Deck, and for me the Steam Deck and the Asus are fucking gargantuan as handhelds. They're so big. And I get why they're full of beefy hardware. It makes sense, but the form factor of that Switch 2 is svelte. It's lightweight. It's it's just so much more kind of palatable. Which just makes me sad that I don't really engage with any of the games. But there you go. I wish I did. I wish I could get excited about it. I'm like, I want one. I remember I had a bit of FOMO when it first launched, and I was mentioning it to the wife, and she just sort of went, "Yeah, but what would you play on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
But I look forward to you telling me more about Switch 2 games as you get to them, and what awesome experiences you have. But before we get off of Nintendo, just touch on this thing you mentioned to me earlier about Pokemon. I don't really know about this.
Yeah, I have recently got my partner into Pokemon. It started with Pokemon cards, Pokemon Go, and it's a slippery slope, and that's where we ended up with the Switch and her buying Violet Edition and us playing together. I, for a long time, have been a fan of a bunch of YouTubers who do these things called hardcore Nuzlocks. Now, it's a self-imposed set of rules that you put on yourself when you play Pokemon. So you understand, whilst never been a fan, you know that as a Pokemon game, you get a choice of 3 starters at the beginning. There are patches of grass you run through and you find these random monsters that come out. You basically enslave them and use them in cockfighting rings throughout the entirety of a game, and you rob children and adults of their money. Generally that's Pokemon, right? On Nuzlocke rules, you are restricted with what you can catch, so you can only catch the first thing you run into. If your Pokemon faints, it dies, essentially. You can't use it again. So it requires just another level of strategy, because every decision you make has to be carefully thought through and evaluated, and understanding ranges of how effective moves are going to be, because everything is essentially life and death, right? It's a way to make a series of games which are generally piss easy for adults actually difficult. And this has spiraled into the concept of Pokemon ROM hacks, where very talented individuals will turn around and break open a game like Fire Red and go, well, this was a piece of piss, let's dial it up to 11. And they'll turn around and add further generations of Pokemon in. They will take Brock, the first gym leader in Fire Red, where he's got 2 Pokemon. No, they'll give him 5. Figure it out. They'll make the difficulty step larger. They will increase the level gaps and put level caps in that you can't go past a certain level until you beat a specific milestone in the game and stuff like that. And some of these ROM hacks are incredibly punishing. And I recently modded my DS because the disc slot or the cart slot was broken. I've modded my DS and I've been starting to play some of these ROM hacks, and I've been having a great time actually being challenged in Pokemon for a change.
Wow.
Do any of the words I've said make sense?
No, I understand it all, but permadeath Pokemon and Pokemon crossed with Dark Souls, which is kind of the vibe I'm getting from you here. I mean, you perhaps have played too much Pokemon, Rob. Maybe.
No such thing.
Maybe there's too much. Maybe there is. Maybe if you have to, let's sort of say illegally mod a game to make it give you a challenge because it's just too easy, even though it's like, I mean, that's really interesting.
Nuzlocke can be run on base games of Pokemon. Like, I've run through Nuzlocke on the 3DS Ultra Moon. I ran a Nuzlocke through that just for fun, because I'd played through Ultra Sun already and I got hold of a copy of Ultra Moon and I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do this. I've been watching several of my YouTubers go around and do these ROM hacks, and I've wanted to try it for a while, so I got bored essentially, a friend of mine, he'd already flashed his DS, I think that's what they call it, or modded it or whatever, and I gave it a go, and it was great fun. So yeah, it's something I've been vastly enjoying. I've had to reset multiple times because I've lost on Fire Red, which I'm not used to, which is very surprising. I've not got further than the second gym.
Interesting. I mean, go play like Fire Emblem on permadeath mode, right? Which are tactical RPGs designed to be challenging rather than having to be broken to be challenging. Have you played any of the Fire Emblem games? Because they're actually a lot like Pokemon. They're a lot like Pokemon.
Really?
Right? Yeah. In many ways, they're you get into combat, you move units around. Like it's a bit more an RTS, like a turn-based RTS. But you've also got that leveling mechanics. You've got like there's like a relationship management element where you build like synergies between characters. I think you'd probably really like them, and then you can play them in permadeath modes, right? So if you lose one of your characters, they die, they're gone, right? And you feel lost because you've built them up over years. And actually, I've now thought of a Nintendo franchise actually I really like, which are the Fire Emblem games. So maybe there is one. Maybe if there's a new Fire Emblem game coming to Switch, I will be jumping on board for it.
That's a justification for Switch 2. There you go.
There you go. I'll tell my wife tomorrow. So she's gonna be so happy. She's so happy. I have another bit of hardware that I barely use in the house, like just to say I have them all.
In what world makes you think that she's not going to get the Switch 2 and you're going to have the Switch Lite to play Fire Emblem on?
Well, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. It's cool that you delve into that. I mean, I kind of, while I might look at that and go, why? I also kind of love the idea that there's a community out there looking to engage with and use their, incredible abilities and sort of smarts to sort of create new life from old games. I love modding. I've always been a big fan of those kind of communities and the games that I like the games that support mods, right? More than the, Nintendo that do not support modding in any way on anything.
They don't support modding for profit.
Well, but they don't really build any platforms that also allow modding, right? Modding is for the most part something you find on PC, and now thankfully with workshops and on Steam and other platforms, modding is becoming a bit more supported by those storefronts. But yeah, Nintendo, not a fan. Xbox has it as well with their Bethesda games and stuff like that, but I don't think Nintendo has any actual official mod support on any of their platforms. So yeah, I think it's cool that people are that creative. Weird, but cool.
The loophole I think they use is the fact, I think Draiano, he's one of the most prolific ROM hack creators. They use the loophole that none of it's for profit. There's not a single penny to be made from it because it's all free. So they turn around and go, well, yeah, I've got the code and done a bunch of stuff, but what you do with it's up to you.
It's a grey area because when you talk about having to flash your DS to do things,
that's just a me choice to
put
modded bits on there.
That's where you're infringing on things like TOS and stuff like that, and they could get funny about that. So, yeah.
But I could have done that on an emulator on my computer. I chose to do it on my 3DS because it was functionally broken.
And also something you've paid Nintendo for, right? So it's like, they've got your money. You're not just doing emulators on PC, which is no developers and no hardware manufacturers will make any profit out of that. So yeah, it's a weird grey space. All of that. It's a weird, interesting grey space. But then Nintendo seems to go through cycles of like litigation sort of fury, where they'll be like, now I'm going to go after every YouTuber that's monetize the video with a hint of a trailer in it. And as someone that's done video game coverage on YouTube, the things that get challenged and copyright claimed, you'll look at it and you'll go, well, how is that not fair use? And also, I'm saying good things about this, or things like that, and you're just like, why would you have an issue with that? That's so weird. It's not even monetized, and yet you've just copyright claimed it. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So I've had a few of those situations where it's like, you take it down or we're going to put a strike on your account. And I'm like, well, I'm obviously going to take it down then because it's not worth a strike. So it's a weird world, all of that.
But then they'll turn a blind eye when people are doing these sorts of essentially new games almost. It's a very weird, odd double standard, but I will take it for as long as it exists because it's enabling awesome things like Radical Red.
Before we move on from games, did you want to touch on Borderlands 4 now that you finally finished it?
Yes, I finally finished it. Is it me, or did you think the ending was a little bit underwhelming?
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Wasn't even the hardest boss fight. That was a really easy boss fight against the Timekeeper.
I was really quite underwhelmed with the fact of the RJ fight afterwards.
Oh,
that was an absolute
that was easy as well.
Cakewalk.
I found them both really
confused.
easy.
Yeah. Timekeeper I wiped once on because I put myself in bad positioning and my summons were dead. That was my mistake, and my fight for your life timer was going a little too quickly because I died a couple of times or gone down a couple of times on the way to him, and it hadn't reset. So I didn't have the time to find one of the drones that was flying around in the air. But yeah, second time I went in, cakewalked him, absolutely curb stomped him.
I think I took them both out in under 30 seconds. So
you had your weird busted build. I had fair Borderlands.
Hey, what do you mean busted build? I built an effective Vex. I mean, that's like, you can't blame me for building an effective Vex, surely.
I think you'll find Gearbox can. But yeah, the gameplay is very good. The 3 mini bosses were better, I think, than the Timekeeper. But the Timekeeper will always be compared to Handsome Jack. They've made a cross for their own backs that they're never going to escape. So I think we're going to get more to do with the Timekeeper as part of the DLC, because he was clearly tasked to be where he was. By what, for what reason, we don't know. So I think we're going to get more information as time passes, but it's probably going to be covered in Borderlands 5, let's face it.
I don't know how... No, I mean, I don't even think it will. I don't even believe it will be, because Gearbox have been doing this whole sort of like obfuscated wider plot for so long that I don't believe there is any payoff coming. I believe that they keep teasing and hinting and hinting and teasing and teasing and hinting and hinting and teasing because they don't have a fucking clue what the payoff is. And therefore, all they can do is tease and hint and tease and hint and tease and hint. And then if there is a payoff ever, it will be shit. Because they can't live up to it. Because they've done it for too long. Right? And it's like they've hinted at a wider thing. Connecting vaults, connecting, everything from Pandora to where we are now. And it's all one big thing that's happening. And it's like... I don't genuinely believe there is actually any kind... And maybe if there was once, back around Borderlands 1 or 2, it's long since been thrown out.
I think it would have been around the pre-sequel because of the storyline of that game.
Oh, I didn't play that. I wasn't interested in a Telltale Borderlands.
Pre-sequel had its problems, but I know one of our friends, I think Adam, it's his favourite one.
It's not Borderlands. It's not fucking Borderlands. Fuck off.
I mean, it literally is.
No, but it literally isn't. Borderlands is a loot shooter. It's not a narrative point-and-click adventure game.
Pre-sequel was a loot shooter.
Oh, what am I talking? I'm thinking of Tales from the Borderlands.
You're talking Tales from the Borderlands. Yeah, I don't give a shit about that.
I got confused. Sorry, I got confused.
Pre-sequel was the one set on Elpis, which was the moon that crashed into Kairos.
Did I play pre-sequel? I can't remember. I think I did.
So clearly it was a memorable game.
It was before 3, wasn't it?
Yes, it was before 3. It came out after 2. It was the other Take-Two studio, or the other Gearbox studio, whatever it was, that ended up getting shut down after this. Or after the game. After that game.
I did play it, but I didn't beat it, much in the same way as Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
I played it, but I didn't beat it. I bounced off.
Yeah, I struggled through pre-sequel because I had a group of friends at the time and we played through Borderlands games together. So I struggled my way through that one, but I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much. 2 was peak. 3 was fine, apart from the bad guys.
Couldn't do it.
The gameplay And the Vault Hunters were fun. The bad guys were shit.
I couldn't get through it because every time they chime up and like start talking to you, I wanted to kill myself. Like, it was so awful in its writing and its characterization that I was just like, this is torture. So actually, I think 4 is the best thing since 2. And I think it's quite comparable to 2 in its gameplay. It's really, really good, fun to play. I will tell you though, after beating the story, max leveling a character and stuff, I'm taking a break, and I'm happy to take a break, and I'm playing some Battlefield instead, and things like that. And next week it's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and I'm well up for an open world neo-noir vampire role-playing game. That should be fucking awesome. But we'll come back after that, and that'll be a single player experience, and I'll come back to Borderlands. There'll be some DLC out, I'm sure, at that point. There'll be the new Vault Hunter. I'll roll a new character, probably that new Vault Hunter Cash, and I'll see what the patches have done, right? Because it's not perfect, but those games are almost impossible to probably balance anyway before release, so you can kind of give them that pass. But I really enjoy my time with it. Like, I put in good like 40 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, something like that, somewhere in there.
I'm not level 50 yet. I'm on UVHM 1. I plan on getting all the way through. So up to 5 and getting a level 50 character.
Well, I got a level 50 character by farming vile bounties in UHV1.
Yeah, I need to find where the vile bounties are, because I can't seem to locate them at the moment.
They're in any safe house. They're in any safe house when you're on Vault Hunter. So they'll just spawn in any safe house, and they're purple on the board, so you can't miss them. They
awesome.
They literally unmissable. Yeah, they're very, very standout. Yeah, they're good for farming. You get about
seem fun.
Yeah. You get about, I'd say, a sixth of a level for each vile bounty, maybe a bit more. So you level you level real quick. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't sound quick to me.
I mean, dude, the leveling in that game is slow. Slow. Specializations were coming in like 3 per level, but the actual core levels move really slowly, from my experience. But no, look, I liked it a lot. Story is completely forgettable. I've forgotten pretty much everything at this point. And then the Lilith reveal, I was like, what? I have no idea what's going on. But maybe you do.
I hugely enjoyed the Lilith reveal. I anticipated that at the climax of the game, and that she would be what was in the vault. So I was pleased to be subverted on that expectation. I think BL4 will always shine most 4-player co-op. And is where it would be better. I've done one co-op session, and it was with you.
Oh, you haven't done any others? Okay.
I haven't done any others.
I'd be curious. We'd need to try it again, because I'm hoping it's not as fucked as when we played it that first time. I'm hoping it's a bit better at this point. But yeah, okay. Should we move on to movies?
Go on then. Talk to me about Tron. Why is it not mediocre?
Tron Ares, the movie that has killed a franchise and killed a movie star's career all at the same time.
Okay, let me make some wild predictions on this one. So, because I've not seen the film yet, and from what you've said there, it has killed Jared Leto's movie career? Yep, because he is an emotionless robot and can't act worth his salt. Shock.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't like him that much, but yeah.
And I'm guessing the best thing about that movie is the music.
It's opened the opening weekend. It took $10 million less than Tron Legacy. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty massive flipperoonie. I don't think it necessarily deserves that. I think it's a perfectly fine 3 out of 5 film. Like, it's totally fine. I enjoyed it. This will make our other most common giant laugh. All the best bits are in the trailer. Like, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen pretty much every cool moment in the film. So you've seen the recognizer, you've seen the light cycles in the real world. Nothing else really happens beyond that. It's just okay. It's disappointing because I don't want to say I had high hopes. I didn't have high hopes. What I want from a Tron movie, I don't expect Shakespeare. None of the Tron films. The original I love. Legacy I love. But they are not exactly the best written movies. They don't have the most complex stories. They don't have characters with oodles of depth and surprising revelations. That isn't why you go to Tron. You go to see a Tron movie because you want visual spectacle. You want to be impressed. You want to be wowed. You want to see and hear things that you haven't seen or heard before, right? That's kind of it, right? You want to be a spectacle. You want to be like, whoa, that's super fucking cool. Wow. And you want to kind of like turn to your whoever's in their cinema with you. I do this when I'm watching a cool movie with my wife or whoever, my friends. I'll be like, turn around, make eye contact and go, fuck yeah. Like mouth it, right? Because you're in a cinema. You just go, fuck yeah, like that. You go, whoa. And you're like, and they're like, you look at it and you see it in their eyes and they're like, shit, that was cool, wasn't it? Like, I didn't have a single moment like that in this movie. That it was just safe. It didn't break any new ground. The soundtrack is really good. Yes.
Good.
Did it have the impact of Daft Punk soundtrack? No. I mean, I would listen to that Daft Punk soundtrack right now. I would take that over the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack from Tron Ares. It's great. It's really good, but it doesn't have that same impact. It doesn't have those big, soaring, impactful moments, those iconic riffs. You can, if you think about it right now, you can remember, can't you, certain tracks from that soundtrack. They're playing in your head.
Literally playing in my head
They're
right now.
playing in your head right now. There are none of those, I don't think, in Tron Ares where they're like, oh man, that theme, that beat. Oh, and then when that thing happened and it's like, whoa, then that hit and it was like, fuck yeah. No, none of that. It's just the promise wasn't lived up to. And do you know what? The parallel I want to draw at the end of the movie, I turned to my wife and I went, do you know what franchise this reminded me of? She went, what? I went, Jurassic World.
Ouch.
The promise of dinosaurs in our world, oh my God, that's going to be so fucking cool. That's going to be crazy. Dinosaurs and us and like trying to, wow, what's that going to mean? Oh my God. The idea of programs from the computer, from Tron, in our world, oh my God, that's going to be so, I mean, I guess it was okay. Like, but the scale doesn't live up to what your imagination makes you think it could be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it just can't, I guess, because your imagination is $3 billion worth and they've got $200 million to work with, right? Or whatever. They can't make it $3 billion worth of imagination. It's not possible. So it's just like, and there's not a lot of time on the grid for a Tron movie, right? Think about Tron Legacy. 80% of that film, maybe more, 85%, is on the grid. It does also have an incredibly good opening sequence with Sam Flynn breaking into the Encon Tower. Yeah. All of that tells you so much about that character. Incredible storytelling through visuals, which I'm a big fan of, rather than like exposition. This is clunky as fuck. The grid feels lifeless and empty. There's like 3 different grids, and that sounds cool, but actually what you get on them is not that much time on them. There's like 5 times in this movie where you get to watch a 3D printer print things. I mean, the first time you're like, oh, cool, so we understand how they come into the reality. But then they do that every single time subsequently, and you're like, we get it. It's a cool idea, but we got it the first time, bro. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. My favourite character, Evan Peters, who plays the Dillinger grandson, and he's just scene-chewingly bad villain. He's got like, he is so irascibly villain, he is very fun to watch, right? And opposite barely emote Jared Leto, that works really fucking well. I couldn't tell you the name of the main protagonist character if you gave me 30 quid right now. I would not be able to tell you this woman's name. She is fine. The actress is doing the best she can. Like, she's not bad. I just have no recollection of who she was or why she was in the film. Like, it's so threadbare, and it could have been so good, and it just screams of the fact that Jared Leto's come on and gone, hey, I'm Jared fucking Leto. You need to make this film all about me. And then they've gone, okay, because you're going to help us get this financed, yeah? And he's like, yeah. And then he's now become the center of this movie. And everything else is backdrop to his story. And his story just isn't that interesting. He's the MCP. He's not sure he wants to be the MCP. And then over the course of the movie, he's like, oh, there's more to life than being the bad guy. And that's the storyline. So it's like cool, I guess. And then Gillian Anderson plays Evan Peters' mum. And she's given not enough to do and does the best she can with what she's given, even though she's fucking awesome and everything. And she does her best. She does her best, but she basically has one note that she plays in every scene because that's what the script asked for her to do, and she does it as well as she can. But you see it in the first scene, and then you get it in the second, and you get it in the third, much like the 3D printing, and you just keep getting it. And it's like, no, got it the first time. And look, visually, do the suits look cool? Yes. The big kind of visual innovation is they have these, like, light staffs, right, that they fight with. And they leave a light trail behind the staffs. Okay. So in a couple of the fight scenes, they kind of use that light trail because it's a physical thing to, like, kick off of and to use in the combat. But the fight choreography is just so basic and boring and not in any way exciting. And it's almost like Jared Leto was like, I don't have time to train how to fight. I can't be bothered. I'm a real actor. I'm not doing this. I don't know. I'm being harsh there, I think, probably. But, like, he as Ares, it's a cool idea. There is one moment with him right at the end where, let me just say this, his suit changes colour and you're kind of like, awesome, that's cool, but I mean, I've been waiting the whole film to see it, so I knew it was coming, but it's like, that's cool, but like, and it ends on the most egregious sequel bait, and you're like, they're not getting that, are they? So maybe in another 15 years, but like it won't be in 2 or 3. I mean, I don't think so. And it's a shame because Sam Flynn and Cora are not in this film, but the end of the movie leaves it very open for them to come back in the next one. But I guess we're never gonna see that. So, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Tron Legacy was panned on release.
Yeah, I'm not sure this will get a critical reappraisal in the same way. Yeah. I'm really not. I will watch it again when it comes out on 4K Blu-ray, and I'll watch it at home with, the best visuals possible and the best sound, because I didn't see it in an IMAX or anything like that. And I will give it another go, but that initial impression was very mediocre, very just, it was fine. When you see it, it just has nothing like creative about it. It feels very much by committee. It feels incredibly safe. Yeah, I mean, the word is disappointing, right?
Ouch.
It's just disappointing. Because, like I said, I'm not expecting the best movie experience I've ever seen, but I was expecting more than that. I was.
That is unfortunate.
Yes. I was quietly hyped about that. And yeah, that's a shame.
I'm going to wait until it comes out on streaming to
try and
get hold of that movie.
Considering that opening weekend, and I'm assuming the hard fall off after that, I wouldn't think it'll be long before it's on Disney Plus. 2 or 3 weeks, I would say. 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Ow.
That's like bad. That'll hit in probably what we're in now, mid-October, mid-November. I would think at the latest early December, and that'll be on Disney Plus. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
That'd be good. A backdrop movie for me to play games to. So that suits me fine.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've watched other better movies. Let me put it that way. In the last couple of weeks, I won't spend too much time on this because you're going to be like, "What the fuck is that?" So that's fine. I watched The Sting in honor of the movie icon That is Robert Redford. It was a Robert Redford movie I hadn't seen, shot in the early 70s, but done in kind of like a 1920s style. It's all about a big con job he does with the most incredible actor Paul Newman, which you might remember from the guy that did the salad dressing. But before he did salad dressing, he was a fantastic actor, Paul Newman. So he's.
Sorry, who did the salad dressing?
Yeah,
What?
he went on to have a really successful career post acting as like a guy that made sauces and salad dressing and things like that, and had his own brand, and it was hugely popular, and like he was a businessman, and he kind of really diversified. You know how all the actors and the Dwayne the Rock Johnsons make alcohol now? Well, it was a purer time when instead they made salad dressing. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll just accept that one.
It's just true. But it's a fantastic movie, beautifully shot, great sense of humor. It's got a really kind of fun, enjoyable kind of. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like Ocean's 11. It's basically that, but like prior to that reboot era. They were clearly heavily inspired by this thing. Really good movie. So I watched that in honor of Robert Redford. I had a little bit of a season of his movies over the last few weeks. I watched The Return of the Living Dead, which is a quality good time. Basically, it's a comedy horror zombie movie that was made as an unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead. So it came out way later because there was all kinds of rights issues and legal issues, and the guy that made it was friends with George Romero, and George obviously made Dawn of the Dead, and he's like, all right, we'll stay away from the Dawn of the Dead's release so we don't compete with you and like deal with that. And then it took longer, and it came out actually just after or just around the same time as Day of the Dead, which was the third Dead film from Romero, and ended up being it's such a different beast. It's funny, it's punk rock, it's got an amazing soundtrack, it's played for laughs. It's like a way more violent Shaun of the Dead, I guess. Like, it's really silly, but it's also like a satire that's quite clever, and also extremely violent, and just gory. 83. Dan O'Bannon directed it. You might know the name Dan O'Bannon as the guy that wrote Alien and lots of other really popular movies of the 80s and the 90s, right? Yeah, you go. Yeah, Rob's pulling a face right now. But if you're in the mood because it's the scary season, for a slightly different horror movie, Arrow have just put this out in a lovely collector's edition on 4K Blu-ray, which is what I picked up with some incredible new artwork. So I really do recommend Return of the Living Dead for those classic film aficionados, which I'm probably becoming one of the few surviving ones of. But I do love my 80s movies.
Do you have stock in 4K Blu-ray or something?
I buy probably on average 6, 7, 8 a month, maybe something like that. I buy a lot. Yeah. I love curating my collection. Yeah, it's great. It's my hobby.
Fair.
I love doing it.
I respect that.
I also watched, now a bit sad this, like, and I wonder how much you're familiar with this actor, to be honest, Rob, because he was probably dead not long after you were born, right? So do you know John Candy?
He sounds sweet, but no, I don't know John Candy.
He sounds so sweet. He was a very sweet guy as well. So John Candy was an incredible Canadian actor and comedian who really blew up in Hollywood in films and made it. He was the lead in things like Uncle Buck. He's in The Incredible Planes, Trains and Automobiles. He's a Cool Runnings. He's the white guy coach in Cool Runnings, for example, for the the bobsleigh team. You must have seen Cool Runnings. Please tell me you've seen Cool Runnings.
I think we should just move on to.
He hasn't seen Cool Runnings. But I look him up because I'm hoping you've seen at least one of his movies that he's in. He was this just incredible, larger than life guy that ended up dying very, very young after a big successful time in Hollywood. And the movie I watched was John Candy. Yeah, incredibly young. My age. He's my age basically. That's my age in a few months. And he they've just put out so Tom Hanks' son, who's just done a documentary called I Like Me, which was a retrospective, a look back at John Candy's life, a look back of his impact in Hollywood, in in comedy, and on those around him. It's a really lovely movie to watch. You've got people, huge names in there, like Bill Murray talking about him, Dan Aykroyd talking about him, and the movies they did together. And it's just a really wonderful reminder of his incredible filmography, of which I'm absolutely digging back into right now off the back of that. He is, I loved him growing up. And I still love him to this day. He's a fantastic performer. And if you don't know John Candy's movies, Rob, if you want to have a laugh, check them out. They are absolutely brilliant. He brings so much soul and likability to his performances. You won't be able to not fall in love with him. He's just the sweetest guy in these films. So yeah. Have you seen any of his films?
I have not seen any of his movies, no.
Jesus.
Not a single one.
I'm trying to think if
at one point I watched National Lampoon's Vacation. He's in that.
He is, but it's not it's not a John Candy movie. He's like in it in a very small role at the end. Yeah. It's a really good role, and something that came up from this documentary that I didn't know about that performance, Rob, was that he only ended up in that movie because they shot the end and it tested badly, and the director was friends with Candy and were like, "Hey mate, do you want to come and shoot for a day or two in this movie because we want to change the end because it didn't test well." So he only came in for the pickups. He didn't exist in that movie until it had done badly at the tests, and then they inserted him into the movie to give it a better ending. Like, that's crazy, right? That's insane. And he kind of saved the film. So there you go. But you didn't know that about National Lampoons.
I didn't, in fairness. I have spoken slightly too soon. I've seen Home Alone, and he's in Home Alone.
Briefly. Yes.
As
Again,
Gus Polinski.
Yeah, he's the
King
one
of the Midwest.
He's the one that gives the mum a ride home, gets her back to the house. Yeah, when she can't fly back. It's a. But for me, it's Plane, Trains and Automobiles opposite Steve Martin, an absolute classic, incredibly funny 80s comedy. Just a fantastic movie about two men driving each other fucking insane. Watch that. You've got to watch that, Rob. That's the one. That's the one. Okay, I think that's it for me and movies. So, disappointed by Tron. Really enjoyed Return of the Living Dead. Sting's a classic, and obviously John Candy, everything he did. Absolute fucking classic. So, I'll just give a score for Tron then. 3 out of 5 stars.
So 6 out of 10. Good to know.
More like 5 out of 10, to be honest.
Ouch.
Yeah. Okay. TV. You finished Alien Earth.
I did finish Alien Earth. I'm so confused. How? What? Why? The fuck? Like, why is this sequel bait of aliens existing on Earth a thing?
When we last spoke, you hadn't watched the Sevastopol episode yet. So the one all set on board the ship.
Yeah, that was good.
Which was awesome, right? Best bit of the show. So you watch that, and then after that, it's kind of the whole ramp up to the end of the series, and it kind of moves on quite quickly. And so go on. What are your thoughts on all that?
Why are there aliens on Earth? I don't understand. What's the point? Like, why?
What do you mean, why? What do you mean? I mean, what's a better question? Yeah.
I thought the plot of Alien was, we found this thing, let's bring it back. Not, we want more of this thing. Because that's clearly what they want. They want more of the alien, because Weyland-Yutani didn't get their hands on it properly the first time.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
But
we don't know yet, though, do we?
Are we getting a second season of Alien Earth?
It has not been confirmed yet, as far as I know. No, I have not heard that.
That irritates me, because they are angling. They're angling harder than Tron Ares is for a second of something. You know, that they want a sequel because they've set up this civilization, or this proto-civilization, this proto-nation of these children in adult robot bodies and 2 aliens, and the leader of them can talk to the aliens. Like, what in the motherfuck? Why? I don't understand the purpose of the show. I don't understand what story they are trying to tell apart from AI not so good, aliens scary. Like, I don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah, but you told me the last time we spoke you hadn't actually seen Alien movies.
No, I haven't.
So see the Alien movies, and that should help you with some of your questions.
Okay, I can't see the Alien movies in the next 5 minutes. Please illuminate.
Well, I'll bring you the 4K Blu-ray of Alien and Aliens when I next see you, buddy, and then you'll have to watch them.
It does nothing to lessen my irritation at the end of Alien Earth. And
I do not. I do see where you're coming from, though. To be less flippant, I mean, you have a point. Like, what must the goal be here? Right? It's really hard to understand. Now, all I would tell you is that the creator, the showrunner Noah Wiley, he doesn't make bad TV shows. Like, historically, he's got really good filmography. They're often weird. They're often out there. He did Legion and he did Fargo, which are both very strange, interesting adaptations of existing properties. However, you've kind of got to go with him on his journey. You got to trust that he's gonna get you to something interesting and different, and it will make sense. Now, my guess is the final season of this show ends with a nuke going off and wiping the slate clean, as it were, to some degree. I do think the recontextualization of Alien, which is that in the original movie, it's treated like an accident that they find the eggs. I think it would be easy enough to recontextualize that as they think it's an accident, but Weyland-Yutani definitely aimed them to get there intentionally. Because whatever happens, Weyland-Yutani are clearly not going to get their hands on the xenomorph, right? That something will happen that prevents that invasion force from succeeding in that goal on the island. Now, I believe he said he's got a plan. I think it was 4 or 5 seasons to tell the story of Alien Earth, which tells me as well that it's gonna go. It's clearly got to go places, literally and figuratively, on Earth. Now, I definitely want to see a large metropolitan environment fucked up by aliens, not necessarily xenomorphs, but by aliens, like creatures from another world. I want to see that scale of, destruction. Now, in Alien Resurrection, right, the 4th Alien movie, they actually make it back to Earth. And in the director's cut of that, there is a scene showing in more detail the kind of, I think they land in in Paris, and it's basically a nuclear wasteland. Like, the whole place is gone. It's fucked. Like, totally destroyed. So the idea is that the corporations have abused and fought over the Earth in ways that have led to its, ultimately it being uninhabitable, which is why they're driving so damn hard to get off Earth. And that's also something they talk about in Alien, what's the newest one called? Sorry, I've forgotten now. Is it Romulus? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Romulus. The one that just came out. And that's something they talk about where they actually give us a little bit more lore around the kind of how poor it is back on Earth and why people are so desperate to go to these shake and bake colonies and terraform and try and carve out better lives in the galaxy, but how also humans are just not really cut out for space exploration and going to other places because so many things, they're so fragile and so many things kill them, right? And it's kind of like that gets tackled in that movie a bit as well. I am still super intrigued by Alien Earth. I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Yes, it's all very much a big question mark, but I actually quite like that it's not obvious what he's driving at. It's not clear cut. I think some of his choices are intentionally divisive, like turning the alien into an almost pet that you think can be controlled by someone talking to it. I think that's also incredible hubris on Wendy's part, and I don't think it's going to end well. Like, you don't really have control over this. Like, you really don't. And that's humanity in a nutshell. Our arrogance about how we think we know everything and that we can manipulate animals and creatures that are trillions and maybe millions and billions, whatever years old, and that somehow we have the ability to make them do what we want because we're better than them and they're just animals, right? Which is like such arrogance, such hubris, and that's so human. And I think that's funny that obviously Wendy and her lost boys don't think they're human, but also like strive to be human at times, but are now becoming less connected to humanity because of what's happened to them in that season. And I'll be really curious to see where they take the synthetic storyline, because in the expanded canon, in the comics and the books of the Alien universe, some of the things they do with synthetics are really interesting, because inherently the aliens don't really see them as anything. They often ignore them, because unless they become an active threat, they're not a way for them to reproduce. So they kind of just like, they just don't care about the synths. So one of the things that's happened in some of the expanded universe is that they build like the humans, or like UNSC build like military special ops units out of synths, so that they can be used to do bug hunts and go after the aliens, because they're not really recognized as a threat. So that's something that's come up in the comic books, for example, and is really cool. And it's actually like, I'd love to see some of that, but he's doing something way more complex than that with these synthetics that think they're humans, but they aren't, and they have this. Did they, I'm still asking myself, did they really transfer the consciousness of those children? Or are they just programmed to think they did? Like, I keep asking myself that, because it could all just be one big con, because all he was looking to do is make money and convince people that they were a product that people would want to buy. Remember, that's Boy Cavalier's motivation in the show. All he wants to do, and he says it at the end, you're the fucking show models. You're there to just be examples of this product, a line of product I want to sell to people out of their desperation about death. And that's all it is.
I did find it very interesting. Cavalier's story throughout the entire show was Cavalier starting off as supposedly being this nicer guy CEO, and my god, is he just as bad, if not worse, than Weyland-Yutani by the end.
I also think he's a lot stupider than he makes you want to believe he is. I don't think he's nearly as smart as he tries to portray.
I think he is very intelligent, but he has blind spots he refuses to acknowledge, which are common sense. Functionally intelligent, but doesn't understand full breadth of consequence.
I thought the whole final scene with all of them in the prison cell, the inmates running the asylum, and then the aliens being their attack dogs, was kind of really. I'm excited to see what they do with that in a season 2, but I also think it might be a massive swerve and we don't actually see any of that. Like, it could be like 10 years later, right? Because they're basically immortal, right? Wendy and the Lost Boys. So you could easily keep those actors, jump 10 years later and just reset in another environment, and maybe we then get flashbacks, because obviously he likes to play with flashback because of the whole Sevastopol stuff. So I honestly have no real preconceptions about what we would see in season 2, because that show wrongs foots you so successfully so often that it could go in so many ways, and that excites me. It's not predictable. So much television is so predictable, right? So I'm excited by the idea that I honestly don't know what they're going to do with an Alien season 2, and I think if we don't get a season 2, I wouldn't even be that upset, because I think this works as a season of TV where I'm like, do you know what? Creative vision, interesting characters, cool moments. I'll take that. Right? That's fine.
It definitely leaves some loose ends, though. Going back to that final sequence, though, with the inmates running the asylum now having the guards as the prisoners. I found the Jesus motif very heavy-handed, with Cavalier strung up with his arms to the side, sort of up in the air in this circular cell, and the others sort of arrayed around him in various poses of disarray. And it's just like, oh, okay, so you're just doing that. That's very heavy-handed, but I thought the imagery was quite interesting to put through.
But I think it knows
very
that.
endemic of how he sees himself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like a reflection of, and he's grinning and he's happy and he's like proud of how far they've come. That's what I read from that, and it's like, yeah, but you're such a fucking idiot. You've created your own downfall, like, and you're happy about that because of course he said throughout, didn't he, that he wants to be challenged. He wants to have a one good fucking conversation, right? And yeah, it's also self-motivated, and that's why it's interesting, because he isn't just, he could have so easily just been a tech bro, right? He could have been a evil or more evil Elon Musk, right? Yeah. Or something like that. And instead he does have layers as a villain. He's not necessarily a villain. He's just another broken person, right? That's doing what he can to get by and be all right in a fucked up world, because the whole idea is that he's the late to the party. So his mega corporation is new on the scene, whereas he's dealing with these very established other ones like Weyland-Yutani, and therefore he's kind of brash and he's arrogant and he's not playing by their rules and he's doing that disruptive tech kind of thing, but at the same time he's just really deeply insecure and he's just a really broken, messed up kid that just wants validation, and he wants some friends. He just wants some friends to play with, doesn't he? Like the whole very heavy-handed Peter Pan motif throughout the season.
No, really, is that the motif they're going
Yes,
for?
I believe it was, Rob. I
Jeez,
picked up on a couple of subtle hints. Maybe the 3, 4, 5, or 10 times they read directly from fucking book.
In the first episode,
throughout the season. So yeah, I really liked it. Are you not so on it as me?
I wish a second season was already out so I could just continue and not have to now wait.
Yeah, based on current production schedules for shows like this, it's going to be 3 years before you see any more Alien Earth.
And I don't know how much I'm going to give a shit in 3 years.
And that's the big problem right now. Look at how well, or how poorly, Last of Us Season 2 was received, because it made us wait so fucking long for that, what was an incredibly faithful and incredibly, boring in many ways and predictable second season, because it just didn't really do anything with the source material. So yeah, I don't know. Again, yeah, it's really true. If we have to wait 3 years for an Alien Earth Season 2, I mean, where's the enthusiasm going to be at that point? I'm with you on that. I think TV production has a real issue right now with that. Stranger Things is another example, right? Where we've waited for so fucking long for this final season that's about to come out, that I know we'll be there, we'll be watching, we're probably doing rewatches, but there's a lot of very much more casual fans that are not going to do that. So, and that have just moved on, grown up, moved on to other things, because they've did you see the comments just today where they're like, we're quite worried it's going to have the Game of Thrones final season problem where everybody backlashes against it? And I did feel like saying, yeah, but the main reason they did that was because the last season was shit. So don't be shit. Like, if you're shit, you'll get that. Like, what do you want?
I have faith that the Duffer Brothers won't have made a shit last season.
Even their worst season, season 2, was still had good stuff, right? Yeah. It was still good to watch.
It was a good season. It just, every show has to have a low point. It wasn't bad. It was just not season 1.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to stick the landing. Out of any modern-ish TV show, that will stick the landing. And I think it'll be a lesson to show others. I hope in January I'm not eating my words.
So that's soon, isn't it? November, next month?
November.
Oh, yeah. Next month. Exciting.
Time for you to do a rewatch, I think.
I did one before season 4, but that was a while ago now. So, yeah, I will.
I might do a season 4 rewatch at the beginning of November. I've done a full Stranger Things rewatch already this year, so a season 4 one in the background while I'm working won't be too onerous because I'm very familiar. It's background noise. I can tune in for big funny action scene with Vecna, great, and then I can just tune back out again.
Yeah, I remember season 4 being like, having never rewatched it, I remember it being really, really good. Like, I remember it being
phenomenal.
I remember it being super dark and really fucking good. Like, I remember the stuff with Max. I remember the stuff with Eddie, and it's like, Jesus Christ, they went to places. Yeah, Hopper. Yeah. They really went places in that season. Like,
it's how they went places in that season, but they recontextualized the entirety of season 1. For example, Will Byers was never taken by a Demogorgon in season 1. He never was taken by one. He was taken by Vecna in season 1. Because now when you go back to it, you hear a clock chime, which is Vecna. Demogorgons eat their prey, they don't catch them. So why would a Demogorgon break in and not immediately be told to stop by Vecna and get taken? And he survives in the Upside Down by singing his favourite song. What does Max do to survive being taken by Vecna? Sings her favourite song. Or listens to her favourite song. So it recontextualizes things that we took for granted in season 1. Fundamentally, so many years later, it's just fantastic what it does.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard thing to pull off when you clearly hadn't planned those story beats, and yet to find a way to make it work that doesn't feel cheap or unearned. You got to give them props for that. Like, and then you have some breakout moments and characters. Obviously, Max was a late addition, and she has some of the most impactful scenes in the show. And then Eddie, of course, who was brand new that season, and is this standout fucking superstar off the back of that, who's now in the fucking Fantastic Four movie. Hardly recognizable as the same actor, I might add, but there he is as Johnny fucking Storm in Marvel, off the back, let's be real, of being amazing in Stranger Things, right? So, like, that's like absolutely put that guy on the map as an actor, and he's so fucking good. He's so good in that season. So yeah, maybe I should go back and watch season 4. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I think I am probably around the start of November, just because I don't like going through a whole rewatch and then immediately jumping back into the show. I like a little bit of time to just sit with it, so it doesn't feel like I'm just watching more and I'm tired of it, So having a little bit of a gap is fine. Like, there's the next season of Has Been Hotel, which is not a show you have watched, coming out on the 28th, 29th of October. I've already done a rewatch. I have the time to sit with it now and get excited again, and it's not just, there's more. I've done the same with Legend of Vox Machina, which I just finished again today, which I'm going to recommend to you again because you would love it. But I've just finished that, and The Mighty Nine is coming out soon, which is our second campaign, and the next season of Vox Machina is coming out soon as well. So I've got time to sit with it before more of it happens. So that's probably what I'll do with Strange Things. Start in November, season 4, a rewatch over a couple of days, and then eagerly await the rest of the month.
Pretty good plan. I mean, it's not the show I've not watched the most out of some of the things you mentioned to me earlier for the show notes. So I'm almost scared to bring it up because you're not the only person. So I run a pretty successful TV based subreddit on Reddit, and I'm involved in a few TV communities, and everyone fucking talks about the traitors, and I'm just like, do I need to care about the motherfucking traitors, Rob?
Honestly, it's great fun watching a bunch. At this point, this particular season is great fun because it has some of my favourite celebrities in it. I'm watching Stephen Fry trying to put order into chaos, and it's fantastic because I love Stephen Fry.
Okay. All right, Stephen Fry being involved does make me kind of lends it some credibility in my mind that it did not have before.
It's very cheesy and very theatrical and very over the top. You got Claudia Winkleman, who's turning around and living her goth fantasies out across everything. The first episode, they swing a coffin shot on one of the celebs, for God's sake, and they dig their own graves. Like, it's very over the top funny, dark murder mystery. It's a hammed up murder mystery social interaction game at the end of the day. If someone has played Werewolf and decided, I could make a TV show out of this, or Wink Murder, I could make a TV show out of this, and that's what they've done. And it does work. It's quite incredible watching a table full of about 15 people all sit and listen patiently to Stephen Fry and go, yes, Mr. Fry, that's a very good idea, Mr. Fry. In the first sit-down round table, he just takes control of the entire table and says what they need to do, and they all just shut up and do it. It's incredible to watch because he does it in this nicest way where we need to sit down and we need to do this and we need to share our opinion and everyone just goes, yes, Mr. Fry, that's exactly what we're going to do, Mr. Fry, evict. It's a fantastic social deduction game. You get to see over-the-top characters like Alan Carr, who you think would be an absolutely terrible traitor, turn out to be incredibly devious. And it is just fun, shitty watching. It's not going to redefine genres and redefine structure, but it's good. You get to see people try and lie and bullshit and then get caught. And it's great fun. So yeah, I do recommend it. It's brainless TV.
Okay. People do seem to love this format, a
Yes.
lot. I think it's one of the most successful things that's been produced. It's BBC, isn't it?
Yeah, BBC. It's gone wildly well for them.
Yeah.
The normal people version of the show, it's a very difficult thing. There have been 3 seasons of the normal people version of the show so far, and it's a very difficult thing to land because they obviously spend this 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however fucking long they're in this Scottish castle filming this show, and they do build bonds. And I think in the first season, the faithful, the good guys essentially win, and you feel happy, but then you watch the second season and the traitor wins and ends up betraying the last good guy at the last minute, and it genuinely feels uncomfortably unpleasant to watch happen, which is an interesting thing because this guy's had to lie and bullshit his way through. He's made a bond with this woman who's the last faithful, and she's like, are you a traitor or are you not? And he goes, no, I'm a faithful. Okay, yeah, we'll lock in, whatever. And he goes, no, I am a traitor at the end. And she literally runs away crying. And he's then having to celebrate with champagne and fireworks because he's just won a shit ton of money. And it's just, this is bad. But it's difficult because they can't telegraph it that the good guys always win because that would ruin the concept of the show. So it's a very interesting thing to watch season 1 compared to season 2, where you got the good guys win and everyone's happy because they beat the bad guys, and then the bad guy wins and you're like, this doesn't feel so good anymore. Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of that game we played of Secret Hitler. And the bad guys won that epic game, the last game we played, and as a group, and it was fucking amazing. It was a super memorable, awesome moment, right? Yeah. So I can see why bad guys winning can be a good thing. But I am going to say this, Rob. It is not the best thing the BBC has made, because the best thing the BBC has made is How Are You? It's Alan Partridge.
Okay, in terms of shitty reality TV, it is the best thing they've made.
Are you an Alan Partridge man, Rob?
No.
You need to become one, because he is amazing, and I love him. He is the anti-hero for all white men on this planet. He is just... do you even know... You must know at least what it is.
Steve Coogan, I think, isn't it?
It's Steve Coogan, and Alan Partridge is this, forever... almost failing, sometimes succeeds at, but turns into failure, kind of in sort of TV, radio personality. He's like a pastiche of like a Noel Edmonds meets, I don't know, some of those really icky kind of radio presenters from the 90s. He's old school, and he's he likes to try and be current, but he always misses the mark. So this show that they've just done on the BBC, he also has an incredible audiobook which is done in a podcast format, and it's very, very entertaining. But this show they've just done is him kind of tackling the mental health crisis in the UK, and yet making it all about him and basically completely missing the mark throughout. And it's so funny, and he's just so awful, but you can't help but kind of love him because he's tragic. He doesn't really ever get to win, but because he doesn't really deserve to win because he's not really a good person, but at the same time he's incredibly sort of fallible and relatable, and it's just an incredible character that Steve Coogan has, like, wow, decades of being Alan Partridge now, and it's something else to watch. I mean, I don't know when I got into it. I wasn't always a fan, but like I connected with it. I think they had a movie called Alan Partridge Alpha Papa, which is like got this random, like, there's a hostage situation at his shitty little radio broadcast center, and this guy like comes in with a gun. He's an ex-presenter, and he's like, because he's lost his job, and he takes Alan hostage, and they become friends throughout the hostage situation. And Alan then screws him over, and it's all just the most ridiculous thing in the world. And he's had different people write the character over the years, including Armando Iannucci and like some of the really famous comedy writers in the BBC over the years. And there's two guys doing it right now. I can't remember their names right now off the top of my head, but who've really like embodied the spirit of Alan. And he's got this podcast, and he's got various TV projects that he shows up in every so often. Not too much. I always feel like he's never overexposed. You get just the amount you want of him every year, right? And it's never too much, and you don't get sick of it. And you kind of like, because he is like, if it was on all the time, you would get sick of him, because it's super awkward at times, and he is a lot, because he is sort of so selfish, and he is so out of touch, and it's just, it would oversaturate, but you just get the right amount of him now, and it's just amazing. I really recommend. I think you'd find him pretty funny. I'd have to try and think of a good like inroad for you, like what to start on, because there is so much of it. I wouldn't say go all the way back to the 90s stuff, because I think it's super dated. The one he did most recently is kind of before this TV one he did. He had like the equivalent of the One Show, in which he was like, it's like that magazine style show, in which he would do these like pieces to camera, and then there'd be the studio bits and stuff like that. But it was always like, it was always going to end badly, and it did, right? So exactly what you'd expect. And he was this sort of like, you can see why there would be a certain demographic in the UK that would absolutely want this guy to be a real person on television. But that's, of course, what he's taking the piss out of. The somewhat right-wing, middle class, think they're in touch but are out of touch, white men for the most part, and he just fucking nails them to the wall. And the best bit is, I don't think they would realise that, right? So it's kind of this brilliantly layered satire, and it works on a lot of different layers, and he's just, Alan Partridge is just a British icon. Yeah.
I think one of my favourite pastiche characters is, have you seen anything by Jonathan Pye?
I think I have, yes. Jonathan Pye rings a bell.
The angry newsman that's always in the middle of a news broadcast, and then it cuts back to studio, and he goes on a massive, great big angry rant in the middle of London about some gibbering thunder-sized idiot, which is not the word I was going to use, but probably slightly too over the 18 plus, and so on. I love his videos. I absolutely love Jonathan Pye. So yeah, that's my favorite like pastiche character, or like.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but like what he's saying is, it's not a joke. He's just doing it in a aggressive way.
Yeah, it's the
because he covers
the newsman.
He covers current affairs, doesn't he? He like talks about current politics, and he just gets like super irate about
super
it.
Angry.
Yeah. I have watched some of his pieces. Yeah, because you'll watch it and you'll go, no, just like fucking spot on, mate. Yeah, tear that guy down, because what a prick. Yeah, 100%. Alan is more
comedic about it, isn't he?
Yeah, like I said, this is meant to be about mental health, and yet he misses the mark almost 100% of the time. And often, like I said, at one point he's trying to get like justice for this woman in one of the episodes from the new show who had been like unjustly fired because she didn't fit into the somewhat bro-ish tech culture of a particular company. And she'd been fired but because she was a bit quiet, she hadn't been able to stand up for herself. And he's like saying sort of slightly passive aggressive things to her about, well, if you just stood up for yourself and not been pathetic about it, that kind of thing. But then the best bit is he goes to confront the CEO, and the CEO's trying to give him like not political speak, but spin it and like get him to stop talking. And at first, Alan's doing quite a good job, and he's like, he just keeps going at him until he makes the other guy stop talking. And he's like, how do you like it? I've talked over you and I've won the battle. And then but then the problem is he sees why the CEO and his colleagues are out at this farm and they're test running a jetpack, and he just gets completely distracted by this jetpack until he takes the woman aside and goes, look, I hope you understand, but it's in the interest of the show and the expose, and honestly it'll be better for you if I get to test fly the jetpack today, because it will help raise awareness because people want to see me fly the jetpack, so that will help get more eyes on this piece so that we can really get your piece across. And it's like he just gives no fucks about that woman at that point. He just wants to fly in the jetpack, right? Yeah. And he gets to fly the jetpack, and it's like all about him, and he has a great time and forgets about her piece entirely. And it's so funny. It's just like, because that's what that guy would do, and most guys would want to fly in the jetpack, right? And that's just like, it's spot on, and it just has me in fucking stitches watching that. It was so funny. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain. You kind of just need to watch it to get it, I think, because I can't do a Steve Coogan as Alan Partridge. I can't. It's impossible to mimic. He's just unique character. I think he started as like a million years ago in the 90s as like a sports reporter, I think is what it was, and like he did just like comedy sports bits, and then it kind of just grew and grew and grew and grew, and became this huge icon of British television. So yeah, really good stuff. Anything else from you, Rob? Otherwise I think we've reached the end.
No, nothing is jumping out at me, no.
Well, that was a mammoth 2 hour, just about 2 hour long ramble chat about films, TVs, and games. That was a good chat, Rob.
Indeed it was.
I'm ready for bed. I don't know about you.
I finished a can of Monster not that long ago, so I'm not that tired.
You finished a can of Monster at like 10 o'clock on at night? Jesus Christ.
It is a Friday, in fairness, and I wanted to be awake and sharp.
Are you going to
discuss?
Are you going to stay up and play video games now then?
I probably am. I'll check on the partner, see if she's awake or not, and then I will probably be staying up and playing some video games for a bit.
Like you were 16 all over again.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's a good vibe. God, I miss those days. I can't stay up late anymore. I can't do it. Like, I get to midnight and I'm like, I've got to go to bed. Like, it's literally the limit now.
I'll be going to bed about midnight. Yeah, it's got plenty of stuff to do at the weekend, but it's just like I'm not ready yet. The dogs will be in the same bed as the missus. They'll be taking up my half of the bed, so I have to drag them out of it. So I'll just give them a little bit more time being comfortable.
Oh. Sounds nice. Well, while we do the wrap up then, I will remind everybody to head over to 8deadgiants.com. Easy for me to say when I've had a few to drink. And check out all of our social links. And I implore you, give us a like and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, be it Spotify, be it iTunes, or whatever that equivalent now is, Apple Podcasts, I think it is, or be it Audible, which I still can't get over the fact that we're on there. I love that so much. And that would be amazing. Obviously, I get it. A lot of people watch this podcast on YouTube, which is a strange thing to me, but it is probably the most popular platform at times for the show. And often the ones where it's just me. Stop listening to the podcast where it's just me. Listen to the ones where Rob's on and where Matt's on. They're much, much better. So go through the back catalogue. We've got some really great evergreen content on there. Not always the current stuff. Looking at like films and stuff and games from years gone by. So great stuff on there. But give us that like and subscribe. Give us that comment. If you do have any comments, questions, thoughts on the show, love you to hear your feedback. Love to hear your dissenting views on any of the opinions we've shared. I love a good argument. I love a good counter attack. So bring that too. Rob, anything to plug?
No, nothing to plug from me.
No holes, no gaps, no gaping voids.
No gaping voids. No.
Nothing to plug.
No.
Plug free.
Plug free, yeah. We had to get some sort of plug-related humour in at the end of an Dark, didn't we?
I think Matt started that, and now that's kind of our thing. It has to be done at the end of an After Dark. But no, it's lovely having you, Rob. It's been a really good chat as always. I think a good lively discussion for a couple of hours there, and I'm sure I'll have you back in a little while.
Definitely.
Brilliant. Cheers, mate. Thanks, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.